Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very happy to welcome everyone this event today on November 16th. Excuse me, I can't hear you. You can't hear me? Well, I can't fix anything on my part. Can you hear me now? Um, Now, can you hear me from this microphone? People can hear me in the room. If you could please handle the online connection, it's obviously online. Where's this voice coming from? Tatiana? Tatiana, can you hear us now? Good morning. Well, let's continue. Once again, good morning. Very happy to see everyone. Today, we're holding a roundtable promoting sustainable development in Central Asia. And for us, this is a very important event. We have invited also several IFIs to take part in this event together with us, and we're very grateful to the World Bank for responding very well and agreeing to hold this very important event on sustainable development in Central Asia together with us. The venue of the event is Almaty, and it's not by chance. Most of international organizations and multilateral development financial institutions who participate in sustainable development in Central Asia have their offices here. Recently, President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Kemalievich Tokayev, initiated establishment of a regional hub for sustainable development for Central Asia and Afghanistan, specifically here in the city of Almaty. And the main idea of today's event is exchanging best practices and laying forward the path for cooperation of international organizations in Central Asia. Today we'll have three theme sessions: irrigation and water resources in Central Asia, environmental and social standards of IFIs, practical examples or case studies of cooperation of IFIs and multilateral organizations in Central Asia. Central Asia is one of the most vulnerable regions to climate change. The temperature is growing here faster than average on the planet. The periods of droughts are become more frequent. Glacier area is reducing in the past 50 years. It was reduced by 30%. Climate change is leading to water flow reduction, which poses tremendous risks for agriculture, food, and energy security in Central Asia. Water, food, energy are very closely interconnected in Central Asia, so one of the priorities for operations of our bank is the development of water and energy complex in Central Asia. And EDB actively supports dialogue with government and international organizations. Recently, we held an event on irrigation and water supply in Central Asia. Today, we'll be sharing with you main conclusions of this new study and practical solutions. And our chief economist, Evgeny Vinokurov, will make a special report on that theme. Naturally, the situation is quite acute as we speak. In the time horizon of the coming 5 years, it may become very serious, and Central Asia may face a very serious water deficit. So a comprehensive solution for the matters has left us very little time. maybe around 5 years. So Central Asian countries need consolidated and maximum support of development banks, including multilateral organizations. Today's roundtable is a wonderful opportunity to bring together efforts of multilateral development organizations, exchange our experiences in water projects in Central Asia, set new contacts, and expand cooperation in funding sustainable development in Central Asia. So I guess with that, my brief introductory remarks are concluded. Thank you very much, and I wish us all effective and fruitful works. Thank you. Nikolai Raevich, thank you very much. We also have a speech prepared by Tatiana Praskorkova, Regional Director of the World Bank for Central Asia. I hope Tatiana is now connected and the connection problem was solved. I guess the problem has not yet been solved. We cannot hear her yet. We can see you, but we cannot hear you. Colleagues. No? Can you hear us now? I don't even know what to say. Let me try again. Now we can hear you. You can hear me now. Perfect. Welcome, Tatiana. Greetings. Thank you very much for inviting me. Take part in this roundtable. Yes, as Mr. Podguzev said, the theme of sustainable development in Central Asia is very relevant. It has always been relevant, and it is ever more relevant now for countries of Central Asia and international organizations, including multilateral development institutions present at this roundtable. I'd like to specifically highlight the theme that Mr. Pazguzov has mentioned, namely the theme of deficit of water as a major threat for sustainable development, for development of Central Asian countries. For us in the World Bank, this theme is a key one, and looking at our portfolio, investment in Central Asia stands at about 12 billion US to date, and approximately a quarter of this investment is related to water, energy, or environmental protection. So this topic is very important. And looking into the future, looking at the projects we're just starting to prepare now, if all of them are successfully prepared, then the share of above-mentioned sectors in our portfolio will grow almost to the level of half. And that tells us that there is major demand in Central Asian countries for all these sectors. Perhaps Mr. Podguzov set us a very good framework for today's discussion. Let me emphasize two themes that he also mentioned, which are of importance for us, namely the interconnection of water and energy sectors. Although the report that will be presented today is very interesting, it's a report on irrigation. We know that about 1/3 of all water in Central Asia is being lost due to inefficiencies in the irrigation system, which naturally affects the very matter of water supply, but also food security in the region. But I'd like to say that there's an ever-growing significance of specifically interconnection of water and energy agendas. And here I'd like to say that we have achieved major progress in dialogue with all countries of Central Asia, but I'd like to see support of all international organizations, specifically what's called in English is called water energy nexus. So this interconnection between water balance and energy balance that I think is gaining for decarbonization of economies of Central Asia a great significance for both upstream and downstream countries. In this connection, I hope that this topic of water energy nexus will get a reflection in today's discussion. A second theme I'd like to hear about today is the theme of regional cooperation. All of us who have come to this roundtable have been working in Central Asia because we understand that it's very important for the countries of Central Asia to cooperate among themselves. We know that recent report of EDB shows that at least $4 billion can be raised through improvements of regional cooperation in water sector alone. Our own estimates show that, for instance, power trade among Central Asian countries will help them save approximately $6 billion. So these are opportunities for regional cooperation. Synergy in water energy nexus from regional perspective is a very important agenda which will help us ensure the topic we discussed today, namely the sustainable development of Central Asian countries. Once again, I'd like to congratulate us that today's roundtable is very relevant. It's a topic that we're all working on now, and I wish us all very successful and productive discussions. And I do hope that today's roundtable will lead to practical cooperation in this area. I know that a lot is being said about the theme of regional cooperation in the water energy nexus, but we would like to say concrete, specific projects in this area because this, like I said earlier, is very important for sustainable economic growth of all Central Asian countries. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me. I do hope that you did hear me, and I wish us all productive discussions today. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tatiana. Well, let us start the proceedings of the roundtable. First panel session. It's a great honor for me to be your moderator. The topic of the session is naturally the presentation of the report of EDB and organized live discussion of issues of water energy next Central Asia. Today we have representatives of international financial institutions, multilateral organizations, government agencies, and manufacturers of equipment. This is they're connecting online, the latter. And so the first speaker of today will be Evgeny Vitkov, senior economist of the Eurasian Economic Development Bank, also a patron for regional cooperation of the regional office of the World Bank. And the third presentation in today's session will be by Mr. Zhou, senior expert in water resource department of Eastern Asia of the Asian Development Bank. Our leaders have set the agenda and the problem of water deficit in Central Asia. The region needs large-scale investment, and that's the direct mandate of IFIs. And we're happy to see at this roundtable major representatives, starting with the World Bank. Tatiana gave us numbers. Asian Development Bank and the Eurasian Development Bank is also an active participant of this process. Evgeny, as far as we know, for many years, Eurasian Bank has delved deep in water energy nexus in Central Asia. The bank has prepared new major large-scale study on water energy nexus. The bank is also pursuing a major project in water energy sectors in Central Asia. So we'd like to give you the floor to share with us your vision, starting with irrigation. Thank you. Good morning, distinguished colleagues, representatives of IFIs, dear journalists. Tatiana Praskarikova has mentioned that their share of water and energy sectors in the portfolio is growing. The second recognized leader in this direction in Central Asia is the Asian Development Bank, is also represented at this roundtable. Eurasian Development Bank has a fast-growing portfolio in these sectors, and the desire to be a fully fledged partner, trusted partner of the states of the region in water, energy, and food. This nexus, it's not just only water and energy, it's also food. These three are related very closely as a ball of twine. The whole problem is shown on this slide. The Aral Sea Basin, two rivers of Amudarya and Sirdarya, has 116 cubic kilometers a year. There's not going to be more, never, ever. There will be less, there will never be more. So that's the supply of water. While demand is growing, as 92% of water intake goes for agricultural produce, for food production. The rest is water supply for potable water, for the industry, for utilities. And considering that out of 116 cubic kilometers, 104 go to irrigation, it means that absolutely there's no alternative to water saving as a means of solving water deficit problems to the region. There is no other alternative. Only increasing efficiencies in irrigation and efficiencies in water consumption in agriculture. When Mr. Batguzev became head of the bank, his practically first resolution was to create an Almaty Center of Industry Analysis, which was established 3 years ago. And at this time, he has conducted a series of works on water energy nexus, on the demand for investment into water energy nexus and regulation water energy nexus. We proposed 5 ways of regulating water energy nexus issues. Today we're presenting a major work on irrigation and water savings and plan in a few months launch a prequel to it for potable water supply. But the topic of irrigation is more important in the sense that it stands for over 90% of water consumption in the region. As a development bank, it is our duty to offer practical solutions, and our work proposes 10 practical solutions for the region, 4 at the regional level, 6 at national levels. But first, a few minutes for the problem diagnostics. Irrigated land is the basis of food security, 66% of added value in agriculture. Thus, development of agriculture in the region is possible only with irrigation only. So water is needed. At the same time, average age of irrigation, inter-industry and intra-industry infrastructure is 55 years. Canals are old. Grid canals are even older. They were built they're old. They were built at the times of late Khrushchev, early Brezhnev. What does that mean? Their efficiencies are very low and a lot of water is being lost. 40% of water is lost before it makes to the fields. 1/3 is lost in grid canals and 2/3 in intra-grid canals. And 55% of lands have been salinated. What does it mean? That it has to be washed out, which requires increased levels of water consumption. Once again, more consumption. Now, Afghanistan started building Koshtepa Canal. When completed, and it will happen soon, it will withdraw up to 10 cubic kilometers of water from Panj. Panj feeds Amudarya. Waters of Amudarya use, first of all, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. That's a lot of water, considering that, let's go back to water balance, considering that average water flow of Amudarya is 80 cubic kilometers, and sometimes 40-45 cubic kilometers in drought years. So we'll have less of water than current level, which will cause serious problems downstream Amudarya.
So you need to be realistic about this and understand that this may result in a growing water offtake from the Sirdarya River. And this is going to be happening in all of the littoral states. So our best outlook for water resources that we can responsibly produce, given the fact that forecasting water resources is kind of difficult, well, we do have some approximated understanding the dynamics of high and low water years, but this is not written in the plans for the next 5 years, but this is the best forecast we can produce. Now these are low water years, then it will be replaced by high water years, 26, 27. It all goes to 28, 29. With the launch of the Koshtepa Canal and the arrival of the next 3 or 4 low water years, the region will fall into the region of chronic deficit of water resources. This year, they also had this water deficit year in Central Asia, but will be replaced by full water years. But then Central Asia may fall into the chronic deficit of water that will be measured depending on various scenarios: low water year, high water year, 12 to 15 cubic kilometers per year. This is the reduction of the water discharge, water flow. This affects the whole region. This is 61 million people. And this will have an impact on the regional agreement on the joint water usage. So this is a problem. The problem is basically clear to everyone. And they dedicate a lot of attention. The government leaders, country leaders understand these problems, trying to decide what to do with it and who should be doing something about this problem. In our work, we offer 10 practical steps. We completely agree with Ms. Proskurakova that this is all about the regional cooperation and also several measures at the level of individual countries. At the regional level, we propose a number of measures to regulate the water and energy nexus, the creation of the Water Energy Consortium. It can be established as a standalone entity with a coordination function or as a standalone consortium for every hydrotechnical project. As we built some hydropower plant, a dam, a consortium can be created. Consortium may include several IFIs, the government, maybe private investors. Consortium will have some financial operator, and we can see the most important role of the international development banks or institutions. The Asian Development Bank can help such consortia to be established and operated. The second, unifying financial resources of the IFIs, regional development banks, some other financial institutions, because the majority of this project requires some grace funding. Plus, the banks provide huge volumes of technical assistance, free of charge money. And plus, the IFIs, they also act as anchors of these projects, building a hydropower plant, a dam, or channel. From pre-feasibility to commissioning, it may take up to 8 years. And the development institutions, they would really anchor this project, pulling it through the periods of political instability, government changes, changing national priorities. IFIs in the international practice, they handle the important role of the holders of the capital-intensive and long-term projects. We, number 3, would like to propose the creation of a cluster to produce the irrigation equipment. There is a standalone slide about that. According to our estimates, the region per year buys from 140 up to 320 million worth of irrigation equipment. It depends on the particular year. Should it be a peak year? 2021, they purchased equipment worth about $300 million. This makes Central Asia the world's number 5 irrigation equipment market. This is 4% of the global market of such machinery, piping, and so on. This is high-capacity market, and all of this equipment is being imported. And to import this equipment, they spend colossal government subsidies. The idea is to create our own Central Asian production and service cluster that would be able to produce this irrigation equipment. What is such an equipment? Pipes and pumps. Pipes and pumps. This is the machinery building and the products from petrochemicals. And according to our estimates, this cluster is completely economically reasonable because of the market, and is also quite natural for Central Asia. Why? Because its foundation will be its own high-capacity market, which will only tend to grow in the foreseeable future. Why do we need to use government subsidies to encourage 100% of imports? When you have nothing of your own, of course, you have to do it. But if there is an alternative to localize your own production, create your own manufacturing facilities, we suggest that the countries do this. And the Eurasian Development Bank offers financial tools to accomplish this. We have a huge portfolio in the area of industrial manufacturing. Getting back, well, it's quite reasonable to start thinking about proposing Afghanistan some sort of a partnership or arrangement in managing water resources. We realize how complicated this topic is, very delicate, highly complicated, but again, you must be realistic. Of course, Kazakhstan will take its water. It will have an impact. Afghanistan will take its water, and we'll need to talk to Afghanistan. We'll need to send delegations, maybe offer some associated membership of the RLC Foundation and the others. At the regional level, we believe the public-private partnership mechanism has a lot of potential. PPP is designed to improve the status of water users associations. This is that necessary link that should be acting as intermediary between individual farms, the government, and the main channels. Well, the key one, if you ask me, what kind of measure, what if we could implement one single measure? What would you do? The water meters. Water meters everywhere, border rivers, mainline channels, main channels. The implementation of the effective water metering in itself produces 12% economy of water resources. So this single measure is enough to save so much water that the problems of 2028, the problems of chronic deficit, can be easily addressed. Of course, this is an ideal arrangement, but water metering, this is the key for water saving. Gradual, step by step, we'll thought through investment elements or components in the tariffs. Water tariffs, they will never be able to pay back. But the idea is to at least reduce expenses, reduce the government's burden, the government's budget burden, and improve the water use efficiency. There are several cases. We'll show you only a couple of those, how PPP, and IFIs work on this. This is the Gardané project, irrigation project in Morocco, conducted by the World Bank Group. They basically upgraded some of the dams and built a channel which delivered water to 10,000 hectares of irrigated lands in Morocco. So this was done based on public-private partnership, and as part of this arrangement, they also distributed the risks of water deficit. Some sort of a collective responsibility or liability for water shortage. Number two, the local case, Central Asia, also IDA and the World Bank project, improving water resources in South Karakal, Pakistan. The project is of interest because the money has been mostly spent to upgrade and modernize a large water channel within which, well, it was laid in concrete. And of course, the water flow was working. Even ancient Romans knew that enough to have 7 centimeters gradient difference to ensure some slack flow. This is what was done on the investors' money in Uzbekistan, attracted about $3 million to, well, to supply electrical energy to the pumps. So the development banks can operate in this area. They can operate as part of public-private partnership. Also, the national level, of course, it's important to restore the interchannel irrigation network, cleaning up channels, dredging channels, making water all the way through to the fields. Basically, in combination with this, implementing modern technologies. We did our own estimates on how much this is likely to cost per hectare. Did some verification with the specialists. Of course, we suggest we look at the low capital-intensive measures, because some of the other measures can cost from $4,000 to $7,000. Water metering, laser field planning, which reduces water consumption by 20–30%, cleaning the burrow structure, using precipitation as alternative to irrigation. Basically, these are some of the measures that pay back within a few years' time. Well, we've got about 5 years to address these problems. According to our estimates, we'll need to reduce losses by about 2.5% per year. 116 cubic meters go through, 43 cubic kilometers get lost. We need to reduce losses by about 1 cubic kilometer per year within the next 2 years, and then on the horizon of 2035, in order to be able to completely eliminate the water deficit issue. It's difficult, it costs money, it does require some coordinated approach at the level of the government, but this is doable and realistic. And as Nikolai Reich keeps on repeating, you must see opportunities when looking at the problems. Well, this is a Chinese maxima. The crisis is also an opportunity, and we see possibilities on how to strengthen cooperation amongst the international financial institutions, just to allow this region to upgrade its own irrigation equipment, manufacture it, to launch its own. And at the end, I'd like to show you this very brief video that tells you about the modern ways of irrigation in the fields. The use of modern irrigation technologies and field management technologies in the conditions of limited water resources. Today, irrigation systems, not systems for irrigating fields and draining water, but also for the usage of digital technologies and the use of modern water-saving equipment. There are multiple contemporary approaches that resolve the task of saving water. For instance, roller systems, micro sprinklers, underground sprinklers, circular irrigation, and the system of high-volume sprayers. These 4 approaches could be good for Central Asia. Precise laser field planning will enable to improve taking care of the crops on the plain fields. You can achieve some water savings. The drip water-based system irrigation enables to supply water and fertilizer straight to the plants, increasing savings by 50 to 80%. The showers or specialized shower-like irrigation systems improve efficiency and water savings up to 50%. Digital technologies for the precise water metering can allow 15% water savings when used by farms in Central Asia. Just through the use of laser field planning and digital video recording, Central Asia can save up to 12 cubic kilometers of water per year. The region has high capacity market to launch its own manufacturing of the irrigation equipment. Eurasian Development Bank is ready to invest to the irrigation and other types of production. The switching to the modern irrigation technology is the factor of the better future for Central Asia. Water problems can be resolved if resolved together. Thank you, Evgeny. Thank you very much for this highly detailed presentation and specific case studies. Of course, there is a big problem in the region, but there are specific applicable decisions, but these require some investment. They must be supported by IFIs, which are critical for the financing of these projects. Today we have present the representatives of the World Bank. The World Bank, as we saw it previously, they have a colossal experience in implementation of such projects worldwide. They are having lots of the wealth of experience of doing these projects here. Dmitry Petrin is our next speaker. He's a coordinator of the regional program and the head of the trust fund for the water energy Nexus Central Asia. In the Central Asian office of the World Bank. Dmitry, so would you mind telling us what is this program about in Central Asia? Thank you. Thank you. Before I start my own presentation that had been specifically prepared for today's roundtable, congratulations to the colleagues from the Eurasian Development Bank and thank them for the work they've done. Hopefully the research, the details of which we learned today, will be a table guidebook for all of the managers of the water and energy facilities. Maybe it will also be in schools, universities, and will be broadly used. Very important, very professional work. Congratulations. Speaking about the work of the World Bank, well, our priorities in the water sector to the large extent coincide or 90% match those aspects that you highlighted before, in which Nikolai Raevich presented to our attention. We also believe that only through the joint use of infrastructure, only through the digital transformation, only through the private capital, it is possible to achieve any progress in the improvement of the entire water supply system of Central Asia. The energy efficiency measures also are in order, also human capacity development, because without people who are able to use this modern and sophisticated equipment, it will never be effective. It's also important to remember about the problems related to the safety and security of irrigation facilities and the integrity of the water supply facilities. This is about dams, canals, and the other facilities.
Here you can see some of our projects in the area of improvements to water resource management, both completed ones and the ones are currently in progress. As you can see, the bank's working in all countries of the region and in different directions. For us, of principal importance is to have an established system of water resource management, not simply money invested in standalone projects, but for a national strategy to be developed that development programs can support development of water policies in different countries and the reforms programs that are extremely important for each of the country so that the matters are handled systemically. As Tatiana mentioned, and I also would like to speak to that, and that when we speak of water deficit problems, we cannot simply speak of irrigation alone. It's an important theme that will help save a lot of water, that will solve many problems. However, that's not the sole problem out there when we speak of water deficit. This is simply due to the fact, and it gets complicated because we have a terminology problem. Water energy nexus, such a popular buzzword in the international environment, doesn't sound very well in Russian, and quite often it's misleading. And it's my opinion, if we speak of the region, we're not speaking of nexus as some sort of unity, because upstream and downstream countries have contradicting interests in water supply. And bringing things together is in the area of energy. If we take water and energy together, then it can be considered as nexus. If we look at water alone, then the interests are quite contradicting. And I think key matters here are not simply in water deficit, but also in water regulation. Because in addition to the problem that we all know very well, in addition to the problem that there simply will not be enough water, as was just proven again, we also need to consider seasonal volatility. There's a desire of upstream rivers to generate more power in winter and discharge water at that time, and the aspirations of downstream countries to use that water in summer when they need it most. The conclusion for us is that we need to bring together efforts to manage water energy resources in a systemic manner. And it is obvious that without a political support, without principal resolutions, there are no prospects for this to come to life. Speaking of the World Bank, water, energy, and the environment at this time is a second when it comes to the volumes sector in the bank's operations at a global level. At this time, about $2.9 billion is in the water energy projects as an investment component. Transportation at this time is number one. But what's important for the region? Looking at the projects we're currently operating, or what will become a project in the next 2 or 3 years' time, the share of water and energy will go up to 44%, as water security, energy security becomes a key issue. And it is understandable that the World Bank, just as the Eurasian Development Bank, in addition to funding investment projects, is doing a lot of analytical work on an annual basis. About 20 different studies and a variety of topics related to the sector are undertaken by different specialists of the bank. In our analytics, for a long time, starting 2009, a lot of attention is paid to water energy partnership. As many know, it under the name of CAWEP. It's one of the longest living programs in the region. 1/3 stage will expire this year. But we're happy to report that international partners, first of all, EU, Switzerland, UK, have confirmed their commitment to continue this work for another 5-year period and have allocated funds. It's a trust fund. This money goes to the World Bank to manage, to implement a great set of analytical activities and develop new projects. As this is one of the most important regional ideas, not national or project level ideas, but the projects related to an overreaching topic, it's important to explain that the 4th stage of CAWEP 4, will be different from CAWEP 3. Because in the 3rd stage, we managed to help many projects in water, many projects in energy, and very few projects in joint water energy resource use. CAVEP 4 will be strategically focused with dominating level of works related to bringing together water energy topics, not water or energy alone. That's the first difference. Second major difference is without the aspects of climate change, analysis of water energy situation in the region at this time has no importance. It is time to move on from alarmist climate studies simply stating that things are bad and getting only worse. We should think of how we factor in climate changes while making decisions now. And this aspect will be a second important component of this program. The third aspect, and that's mandatory, it will fund only the works related to regional cooperation. We have other opportunities to fund national level projects, national agenda, but this program is unique in the sense for the region that everything related to joint use can be funded through this program. Starting next year, the program will be launched. A budget is estimated at about 25 million US. We have already a commitment for about $16 million, and we're absolutely assured that will raise the balance or even more considering the goals set for this program. What's the logic and what's the strategic approach of this program? Here, it's quite interesting. When I talk to colleagues, we're now analyzing the needs. There are two religions, if you will. First one, I believe, thinks that water energy topic is such a high-level topic that without political decisions made initially, working on the content is impossible. First of all, one needs to get political content. And in that way, it has a meaning. We're ready to finance and help dialogue for water diplomacy, water energy diplomacy, to help the countries find compromise for joint water use. And that support can be provided to support adoption of high-level political decisions. However, these political decisions very often are pegged to national interests, some political aspects, and very poorly rely on good analytics without us showing the benefits of economic cooperation. What are the opportunities in this cooperation? What kind of advantages and disadvantages it comes to different countries of the region? The move from words to action will not be possible. So we'll be working on analytics for both climate change and modeling water energy balance in the region to effectively consider different solutions, the way they will affect economic situation of either of the regional countries. Let's say a decision is there, supported by analytics. Now, who will take action? There's another level of task, supporting regional organizations required for them to be effective conduits of practical measures that can be agreed. But also, there is a different take on things, that possibly that this theme is so delicate, so complicated, that it will be hard to come to terms. So perhaps it start bottoms up, grassroots approach. And it may also be possible, and we're ready to work on that. We're ready to allocate funds to work on specific concrete economic projects that will be based on joint water energy opportunities of the countries of the region. And the last aspect is based on what I already said. For all these directions, matters of climate agenda are of principal importance, and there will be more attention than ever before to this, and not in theoretical level, but in practical level in decision-making process. What we can discuss today, and which I think is a problem, and was said fairly to improve our operations of international organizations. The main problem now is that all countries of the region recognize that it's an important topic and everybody agrees to collaborate. But the mechanism for such cooperation does not exist. You cannot bring together ministers of water, energy, heads of governmental agencies, people from presidential administrations to discuss water and energy problems. Practically impossible. And in that sense, there is no object for decision making as to what is important, what we need to work on, and how this interaction needs to be organized. Maybe it has to do with a weak regional organization that will work on water and energy in the region. We're very much hopeful that starting next year, when Kazakhstan will chair IFRC, there will be more regional cooperation, as was agreed within CALIP. We'll start with practical steps. So to water topics, we can add energy issues and start working jointly on those two directions and move to practical institutional mechanisms to support real coordination. Maybe it's not going to be that organization, maybe it'll be something else. I think very few people know here of a wonderful study that the Eurasian Development Bank has undertaken last year, where it explained matters of irrigation of water, energy, and access, that laid forth all possible options, analyzed all potential implications of creating a consortium, or what will happen if we don't establish consortium. When we speak of regional organizations, we need to go back to that study, read it again, and look at the options provided with the recommendations. From the World Bank perspective, creation of a global consortium for all of Central Asia, it's a very complicated matter, and we agree with the conclusions of that study that it is perhaps too ambitious at this stage, because reforming that regional organization may be enough of a framework for political dialogue. And for practical matters, as was fairly stated, specific concrete projects for specific facilities can be implemented. And Khabarata, for instance, can become a wonderful pilot project where World Bank is participating in the component of that being a water energy facility. Maybe also we should remember that it's not the decision of international development partners. It should be the decision of the countries themselves, and we can only support them in the decision they make. Now, what we should do is to better coordinate our studies, consider each other's works, and plan them, not only at an annual basis, but perhaps for longer horizons, considering that we end up very often doing parallel, similar studies. And I think another important problem that a lot of work is being undertaken by external organizations rather than local research institutions. And I think we should start thinking developing not only the manufacturing capacity in the region, as was mentioned, but also analytical capacity should be developed within the region. And the last topic that was also mentioned by the colleagues is that funding of such global measures is now done in a very mismatched manner. Each country, each organization funds a standalone project, and these resources not enough to really cover this topic. They help solving a smaller problem and getting some good results, as we could see in South Karakalpakstan, as mentioned earlier, but they don't really solve the overreaching problem. The World Bank is now working on a different paradigm. We stand for setting major ambitious goals and bring together major volumes of funding from different organizations to handle such topics. We have two examples of that. First, for Ragun, where the World Bank is leading a group of investors to work on a united project, and other development banks are ready to add their resources to jointly finance this extremely important energy project. And we're also stepping up with the initiative for the Kyrgyz Republic to solve the water problem for everyone. And maybe we can also supply potable water, making it available to all residents of the Kyrgyz Republic. This is a manageable task. It has been calculated thoroughly. It's not impossible, but our resources are not sufficient for that. And Kambarata is a similar project. Maybe digitalization of the overall system for the Central Asian region, the water system, for its metering, maybe for joint effort, united approach of all organizations. There are a lot of different opportunities to bring together efforts and to solve problems thoroughly. And if we list these problems, we can jointly work on them. So these are our thoughts on this theme. Thank you very much again for raising such extremely important matters. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dmitry. Thank you for such a detailed and concrete presentation of what the World Bank is doing, for the presentation of the mechanism, for your approaches. And it turns out in many ways the approaches that you have mentioned and what we have mentioned, we're already using it in the water energy nexus. They're very similar in many ways and they match in many ways. And I'd like to mention some that you presented in your slides. One of the important ones is the organization of regional high-level dialogue through diplomatic processes for the original organization within COEP for evidence-based analytics, and you mentioned the International Fund, the RLC Foundation, and also investments, joint investments, as you emphasized. So we absolutely share all these principles and these approaches for water energy nexus in Central Asia, and we rejoice that we really have the possibilities and opportunities for cooperation. And thank you very much for the assessment you've given to our studies. We really work hard, dedicate a lot of time and resources, and that's the basis of our new approach in our bank, in our project operations. Thank you very much. Next speaker in our session is Mr. Zhou. Mr. Zhou is a senior specialist on water resources of the Eastern Asia, of the Asian Development Bank, great expert on water matters generally, a great expert. Mr. Zhou, I'd like to ask you share with us your vision of how EDB supports development of water resource management in Central Asia. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Arman. Good morning to everyone. It's our pleasure to be invited to have a presentation at this roundtable. Just now, my colleagues from World Bank made a good. My colleagues from the World Bank made a good presentation, and before that, the chief economist Evgeny also made a very good presentation, excellent presentation on the overall issues we are facing in the region, and also propose some practical solutions for the region. We are EDB is willing and committed to work together with all the international development partners as well as the governments of the region to turn the crisis into opportunities for the benefits of the over 60 million people in the region. So come back to my presentation. I have been given 5 to 7 minutes for the presentation, so I prepared 3 slides to share with you. Yeah, first of all, let me start with EDB support to Central Asia countries. Here, actually, when we in EDB, we say Central Asia countries, we include in South Caucasus countries, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Armenia. So we, at the moment, we have active portfolio in water resources and also irrigation of 12 projects. We have this in 20 loans or grants, because one project can have 2 loans or 1 loan and 1 grant. So totally about 600 million US. So in this region, we have ongoing portfolio in Georgia, Kyrgyz Republic, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. So our future pipeline from 2024, 2022 to 2026, expecting to invest 700 to 800 million in the region. We will continue our work in Georgia, Kyrgyz Republic, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. As I just mentioned, we have ongoing portfolio there. We are expanding to our coverage to Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkmenistan. Here, maybe we're also exploring Kazakhstan. Maybe you are curious why we say exploring Kazakhstan. Actually, in 2019, EDB approved irrigation rehabilitation and modernization project for 250 million US dollars equivalent in local currency lending. But unfortunately, because of several reasons, the project was canceled at the end. So we are still interested in working with Kazakhstan to further modernize irrigation systems. There are huge opportunities there. Of course, we know that there are several issues with the Kazakh water horse because they are facing that issue. And then I think our international chronicles are working with the agency on irrigation rehabilitation and modernization. So our focus areas, I list several. I just highlight climate adaptation and nature-based solution. This is our main, as you may know, that our president have launched EDB as a climate change bank. So all our projects have to be Paris aligned, and also we have to do some upstream work assessment on the climate change. We want to have the pipelines, given the progress discussions, pipelines with the climate change focus. And then also we are promoting nature capital, nature-based solutions. We have jointly established a natural capital lab to supporting nature-based solution. We have partnered with Stanford University to, as you may heard that in middle November this year, we had the Asian Pacific Natural Capital Forum held in Manila, EDB headquarters, and we have announced together with the Global Climate Change Fund to establish a natural capital fund for Asian and Pacific region with the amount of 50 million to support our efforts in natural-based solutions. And then also I want to highlight the integrated water resource management aspect. This have been a long-term topic here. But then we want to, not only just on the investment part, on the water resource management part, we want to also have the policy governance issues. We also like to discuss with address water-related disasters. And then the third area that I want to highlight is that improve water use efficiency, particularly irrigation water use efficiency and irrigation water productivity. And then as I think World Bank colleague highlighted that digital solutions for agricultural services, for irrigation services are also important. I mean, how many assets you have, how you're going to deliver your service. Particularly, this have been testified during the COVID time. We need some digital solutions to deliver our services during the crisis. And finally, I want to highlight that not only the investment, but also more kind of mobilize innovative financing instruments, and also mobilization of the green financing. I mean, in this, for EDB, we have some, we are facing some challenges to mobilize grant financing in most Central Asia countries like Kazakhstan, Georgia, or in EDB classified as middle-income countries. So a lot of our EDB's in-house, technical assistance grants are not eligible for these countries. So I think for the agriculture, for irrigation sector, we still need to mobilize some soft core financing, grant core financing to move things forward. My second I just want to, these two slides are examples of what we are doing. What Pina's, the EDB have a flagship regional cooperation program called CAREC. And then during a few years back, when the countries and EDB work together to develop the CAREC Strategy 2030, water has become one of the priority areas for cooperation, in addition to the traditional transport sector, agriculture sector, and energy sector. So we work on what PINA work done included the several rounds of consultation with with the countries in the region, as well as with international agencies, including the IFAS. Sorry. And then we finished. Scoping study. We also finished upstream analytical work, including climate change, legal aspect, and also economic value. Overall economic value for strengthening regional cooperation in water sector. And we are kind of identify together with our country focal on the priority investment project in water and the agriculture sector. Our next step is to have established water PINA working group, and also conducting some pre-feasibility level or concept level of the screening of the financing investment opportunities on the CAREC water PINA. And also we will continue our study on the water energy nexus supported by our in-house water partnership financing fund within EDB. So I think that this study have been have been ongoing for 1 year. We are going to conclude maybe sometime next year for this water energy stack. I'm happy that they hear that the World Bank also doing that. So we hope that to collaborate together with all the agencies to promote this water energy nenex. But anyway, we are the nenex has been overly used. We say energy, food, agriculture nenex. We say water, energy, nenex. The idea is to have an integrated, holistic approach towards the issues facing energy saving and also energy security and water security and food security. So my last presentation is another case study. This Georgia Climate Smart Irrigation Sector Development Program. Today is our board approval date. I spent this time, it's not yet approved. So by end of the day, I hope that we can get the project approved. This is a policy known we have for the sector development program, we have two parts. One is the policy-based lending. The other one is traditional investment lending. So I made a mistake in the slides. The overall is 48 million for an EDB. So 15 million for the policy lending. That is for the subprogram 1, and also the total the project investment known is 33 million. It's not 30 million. And also the government Georgia government will providing counterpart financing of 29 million. And then we are lucky we work together with the French Development Agency, the France's development. So for our policy lending, for the subprogram 1, they also provided 50 million euros. And then for the subprogram 1, currently it's scheduled in 2026 approval. And there will be another 20 million from EDB, and then from 20 euro from AFD. So as you can know that the project, we have 3 outputs in the project. The first output is kind of is just policy-based lending to support the institutional governance and management enhancement. And then in the output 2, we have investment in the irrigation modernization of Kimo Sangori left main canal irrigation scheme. They were including the converting the open canal systems at the moment to pressurized or closed pipe networks for water distribution. And then the third output is to support the demonstration innovative irrigation and agricultural production technologies, and improve the capacities of the farmers and also the irrigation operators. The main transformative aspect of this project is, as I said, that this is EDB's first policy and investment, combined investment in irrigation subsector. We have a lot of in other sectors. So this is to reinforce policy reforms with investment interventions. In this project, we have several key aspects of the reform. One is the irrigation tariff. I mean, I heard a lot of, to achieve the operational and maintenance sustainability of the investment, we need to have the irrigation tariff reform introduced in Georgia, I think in other Central Asian countries. Currently, irrigation tariff is too low and to cover the operation and maintenance without seeing the capital investment. So this is the one of the aspect. We have a long-term discussion with the Georgia government, and then the second issue is the governance reform of the Georgia Armenia region is a SOE, equivalent to the irrigation operator in other Central countries like Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan, or other countries. I don't know the name, but then this is a seminar. So we are discussing with them to first of all have independent supervision board members in setting in the supervision independent members to set in the supervisory board of the SOE and then also including some female members in the 1/3. We are targeting 1/3 of independent members and 1/3 of female. But then if they are the same, the person they can already achieve the target, and also some other reforms like we are going to working together. I think World Bank also part of that to develop the irrigation master plan and also water resource allocation plan for the key river basins. So this is to enhance the water resource management, water allocation, as irrigation water, as just now our chief economist highlighted that 92% of water of withdrawal are for agricultural purpose. So the irrigation have a lot of potential to save water in our country, in the region, and this is huge opportunities. I mean, like Kazakhstan, there are other central countries. The government are diversified into from the fossil energy-based economy to more kind of diversified economy. I mean, agriculture is one of the selections, a priority area for such diversification. So we are happy to work with the government and also international agencies to provide our support. Thank you.
Большое спасибо, господин Джоу. Мы видим очень четкую, конкретную
See the very
стратегию.
concrete strategy of the Asian Development Bank in the CAREC member countries. We like the initial pillar of your policy by the year 2030. Let me read this in English.
Security across the region and facilitate cross-sector dialogue and investment for mutually beneficial outcomes. Это ровно то, к чему мы стремимся.
This is precisely what we're trying to achieve in our activity, and this is why we gathered here today. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much for some very interesting cases. You shared with us some of the recommendations that have been announced earlier today by Evgeny. Well, some of these recommendations are quite complex, like the tariff reform and the improved water usage efficiency in the field. So thank you very much. Distinguished participant of the Roundtable, we have very little time, but I'd like to give the floor to all the other participants. We have representatives of some of the international financial institutions, UNIDA, FAO, representatives of the RLC Foundation, Islamic Development Bank. So the microphone is open. If everyone wishes to speak, please, you're welcome. Hello, distinguished participants of the Roundtable. My name is Kuat Babayev. I represent the FAO office in Kyrgyzstan. I'm acting deputy representative of FAO in Kyrgyzstan. I'd like to address some of my colleagues, speakers, and must emphasize the importance of the sustainable water use. In our office in Kyrgyzstan is piloting technologies to implement digital management over water resources, specifically the remote metering of water usage at all the stages. And this is related to the fact that what Mr. Vinokurov emphasized. In the conditions of the lacking water resources, there is an acute question about the fair water distribution. So this technology basically is responsible for this fair distribution of water resources. Right now, this technology is being piloted in 2 areas of Kyrgyzstan, Chuy and Ure. But there are plans to spread this technology not just in Kyrgyzstan, but elsewhere. And this piloting is done as part of the joint program with the Islamic Development Bank to implement the project of irrigation.
Thank you very much. Let me ask you right away a countering question. Do you already have any results, maybe technical results, of how much water saving you gain? At this time, the project is still in progress. However, there was an interim mission this past summer, a high-level mission from our headquarters, where they have assessed of preliminary interim results. And generally speaking, in a few words, it was a positive, good conclusion, and the mission recommended to replicate this project in other provinces. And I'd like to mention that these technologies cost money, and that requires thorough planning and investment. but we can see that it will pay back. Now the pilot's results will be ready in the beginning of the next year or end of this year. We'll see the result. We're extremely interested in the outcomes because one of our directions is undertaking such pilot projects to understand this technical parameters, what we can achieve in our specific conditions. Thank you very much for that. Please, you have the floor. Mr. Devilson.
I'm representing the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. At today's meeting, a very heartfelt appreciation for the warm extension for inviting UNIDO to this event. Unfortunately, our Director General, Gerd Müller, could not participate, but we are pleased to see you at our General Conference in about 2 weeks' time. Thank you for that. I am heading a new division in UNIDO where we are trying exactly to do what is being discussed here in this context in a more global scale, namely to look into how we can embrace our technical assistance portfolio with elements of innovative finance and reaching out to international financial institutions. I'm pleased to see my colleague here from FAO, World Bank, EDB also being present here today. I think our senior management recognizes that Central Asia is a bit of a weak area within UNIDO, and I'm here to signal our strong interest in entering into partnerships also in the field of water management, where we have a global activities. However, not that extensive here in Central Asia, but I wanted to use the opportunity to express our keen interest to deepen our collaboration in this field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe there are truly many areas where we can cooperate, and Evgeny mentioned the irrigation cluster through our idea, the project that we want to implement, and that, among other things, includes development of industrial capacity in the region when it comes to production of irrigation equipment and introduction of new technologies, digital technologies. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Ayjan Karabayeva. I also represent FAO, but the Kazakhstan office in this event. I'm generally a project manager for the project of comprehensive management of natural resources in Central Asia and Turkey. It's an regional project as part of the GEF6 cycle. It's implemented in all 5 countries of Central Asia, and Turkey participates in this project as a country that shares its experience in sustainable development. And I would like to note the brief abbreviation of KSM2 of the project. A colleague here mentioned from Kyrgyzstan that as part of our project, we're implementing such water-saving technologies, including remote water metering systems. It was piloted in Kuchkor district of Kyrgyzstan, and currently it's being rolled out to other oblasts. The performance is very good. Technology has proven a success with colossal water savings, and here I agree with Mr. Vinokurov that introduction of effective water metering will help us solve half the problems in water deficit. And also, I would like to note that we speak of water saving and deficit of water, but when we speak in the context of food security and food production, we're all producing it on land and soil. You cannot clearly separate water from soil. We need to add to all these nexuses land as well, sustainable land management. That's why we're speaking of integrated approach, as Mr. Zot mentioned, integrated, holistic approach. Without that, we are not going anywhere. I'd like to note that as part of the project in Turkmenistan, we're introducing technology for Sardop. This major cans. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare a presentation. I wasn't planning to speak here, but I'd like to note that such technologies are available, and FAO, as a technical organization, stands ready to share its experiences and provide support on implementation. Thank you very much. This is extremely interesting. Yes, Marat. Yes, head of the Department of Natural Resource. Yes, good day, dear colleagues. Thank you very much, Arman, for the invitation. The roundtable is really at a high level. You all know that the chair from January in RLC Foundation goes to Kazakhstan, and in its office, Kazakhstan will pay special attention to the Dushanbe statement and will continue the work of the process that have already been started for improvement of the operation. International RLC from traditionally works with international financial institutions, international organizations. We can speak of the traditional cooperation with the World Bank. We think we'll start close cooperation. We'll start we have planned for the next 3 years, and we'll have the platform, the program 4 for the RLC basin, and the regional program for environmental protection and sustainable development of Central Asia. These are two major regional programs that can be used as a platform for further cooperation. Yes, thank you very much, Marat. Yes, we have very little time, but for a couple of questions. Yes, please. Yes, good morning. Marat Kalminov. My question is as follows. You spoke of comprehensive approaches in use of water and energy, but no opinion was expressed to the growth of renewable energy sources. How can renewables affect the water consumption in the future? Because we do understand that renewable energy sources consume less water as a factor. So RES as a factor for the water problem in Central Asia. If I may ask this question to the Eurasian Development Bank, Nikolai. Thank you very much for the question. In fact, all of these topics with renewable energy, including hydropower, are within the topic of our issue, and it was stated and in presentation of Tatiana Praskurikova and other participants of our discussion that the water and energy problems are interlinked, and the energy that we mean here most frequently, as we refer to, is in connection to water energy. So proper organization of this type of water power facilities is definitely a priority for the organization of the water energy for the region. And Kambarata is extremely important for water regulation, as it goes together within the set of the Tohtogul hydropower station, and it should operate together coming from universal understanding, universal approach. And from that perspective, of course, hydropower potential and its proper realization will have a direct impact on water problems of the region as well, I am confident, and it should have a positive impact. Thank you very much. I'd like to expand this topic because it seems to me that the matters of solar power and wind energy are directly related on the problems of water resource management, because these are the sources of power developing very fast and supported by all international organizations. They're not sustainable. And for the power system to be effective, there has to be balancing power generation, and that cannot be coal. Accordingly, it will have to be hydropower, and that requires development of two things: development of hydropower as the basis of reliable and manageable power, and also requires development of power market in the region. Because without the power market, you cannot take this green hydropower for the countries downstream, where the possibilities of solar energy are the highest. So right there, it becomes a very interlinked issue. Thank you very much. I guess we should stop series of Q&A as we have used up our time.
Specialized in underground irrigation for 15 years, and I would like to ask the question if you have considered to invest into tools that will help more the farmers actually to monitor or to pilot the irrigation management on field. Because in my experience, and I have worked for 15 years in Morocco, I saw in the slide the example of the Sousse area, that there are a lot of programs to provide more water resources to the farmers in order to explore, but there are no tools or no encouragements to make the farmers to save actually the water. So I have experienced that in the past 3 years, the area of irrigated agricultural land in Morocco has decreased from 1.6 million hectares to 420,000 hectares, which is a loss of 70% of the irrigated area. So have you thought about maybe competence centers implementing digital technologies to provide a database for the use of the farmers to actually monitor and pilot the irrigation management? I think this is a crucial tool.
You are the great German investor and specialist of whom Murat Zhukenov Foreign Estate. Thank you for the question. Yes, why don't we connect you to our project manager after the roundtable to have discussion? Because one of the regions we suggest in the region is the creation of our own industrial cluster for irrigation equipment, localization of technologies from the countries that have learned that: Germany, US, Turkey, China, Israel. And we are keenly interested in supporting investment of irrigation equipment and technologies in Central Asia. If you could please come up to us after the roundtable, we will hook you up with our project manager. I will come up to you ourselves. Just don't leave. Well, dear participants, thank you very much for your presentations, for your comments. The discussion was extremely interesting, and I'm happy to see that approaches of multilateral investment banks are similar in many ways, and that we are in principle ready to cooperate and bring our resources together to handle these matters. Thank you very much, all participants. Thank you very much, Klay Radjevich. Yes, Arman, truly, thank you very much. And we thank our moderator, Arman Khunbayev, who, first of all, has perfectly managed the role of the moderator, and he's also one of the main authors of the report on irrigation that was presented today, and it's our think tank for water energy nexus. Thank you, Arman. I'd like to say that, of course, today we laid forth our positions, and they match in many ways, and I rejoice. But at the same time, I would prefer for this discussion will not act as the water that goes into the sand, because we know that 50% of water goes into the sand here, and not very much like for this discussion to become a prologue of a kind for specific projects. We need practical solutions. Let them be small first, but we should gradually, continuously move forward to solve these problems. and the matters that were outlined and the creation of mechanisms of regional interaction mechanisms and possibly creation of a consortium, development of analytical potential from the perspective from the regional perspective, creation of such industrial clusters and service competence centers. It's all very important. All of that, I believe, we can jointly handle quite realistically so. And I would like to suggest that maybe in a year's time we meet in the same or maybe even in expanded format and once again tell each other, looking into each other's eyes, that, okay, in a year's time we made this, let there be small but concrete steps that we brought something about. And now I'd like to thank the World Bank, Tatiana Praskurikova, and I'd like to thank her and thank our esteemed speakers of the day, Mr. Ijo, Dmitry Petrin, for the wonderful presentations. So the first third of our discussion today is over, but we have two more wonderful themes, and I'll also be very happy if we can have a quality discussion. Thank you.